Is Jax a psychopath or a character forced to react this way for his own survival? Today, we'll discuss why Jax is one of the most hated characters in the amazing digital circus and what's behind it, or at least what we can deduce. There can be two reasons behind his acting mean. He could be a sociopath who delights in suffering, or he could be a person who got into this situation because of certain circumstances. We still don't know what kind of person Jax is, but the show has gone out of its way to drop little hints that might help us understand what really happened to him. One thing we notice firsthand when we meet the character is his ability to steal, deceive, and manipulate. At first glance, I might say that he was already a somewhat daring person outside of this place, but not to the extreme. If there's one thing we've seen in this show, it's that all the characters have their qualities pushed to the limit by the circumstances. Pomni has his trust and abandonment issues, Regatha is extremely kind, Gangle is a walking joke on his sentimental and comedic side, Zuby is bitter, and Kinger is just plain crazy. Perhaps Jax was once a somewhat daring person with kleptomania issues. We see this when he mentioned that he had the key to Kaufmo's room, and when he stole the keys to the kingdom from Regatha to let the caramel monster in. He's also shown to be good with information, like when he manipulates Gangle with a mysterious drawing of Regatha that allows him to manipulate her several times. So, we already have a pretty basic idea of his abilities, but one thing is mastering and knowing how to get what he wants, and another is his personality. Jax comes across as a somewhat cynical character. From the first minute, we see him being sarcastic and mocking Pomni. On several occasions, he seems to enjoy being stereotyped. But not only that, he also comes across as someone who likes chaos. Deep down, by the way he acted and the way he wanted to take Pomni to Kaufmo's room, it was clear that he already had an idea, that he had already seen it. The worst part is that when they're in that place, instead of closing the door, he runs away and leaves them, creating chaos. This leaves us with a rather cynical person. Just like when he threw Kinger and Gangle into the hole so that no one would know he was scared, he was quite clever and, for example, kicked the cone and got a strike. Moments that clearly show how manipulative he can be are when he tells Gangle about the drawing. He's not only good at getting information, but also at manipulating and loves chaos. But seriously, what we saw in the second episode makes it very clear what kind of character he is, a person without scruples in any sense, which leads us to two possible theories. From the beginning of the chapter, he seemed very excited about the adventure and the truck, although he had moments when he was affected, like when the horn wasn't that loud. His need to see a disaster is quite present, whether it's his insistence on taking the rocky path or his using the phrase, "If they were tasty, then it wasn't genocide." All this makes us think a lot about his actions. His personality is simple, he loves chaos, messing with his friends, and doesn't care about sacrificing anyone for his entertainment. He's a person who lives for himself and likes to make things chaotic. What is behind Jax? But that brings us to a situation. We're probably dealing with a character who may be hiding his pain. I'd like to think that, and not just that he's a psychopath, but that the situation led him there. We can see that when they talk about Kaufmo and his funeral, he seems a little affected. He is a somewhat long-time resident of the group, having been in that place for years, and as we saw in Chapter 1, there are two other characters who were turned into creatures, which could have created this sense of detachment or struggle to feel nothing. Maybe he had these kleptomaniac habits, but he was using them as an escape from his problems and his fear of abandonment. Besides, this attitude also helps him stay sane, because he does it out of sheer survival. But one thing we do know is that Jax had a pretty dark past that led him to this addiction, and if it wasn't as developed when he came in, it was seeing his companions get upset that made him the way he is. Jax is at least interesting. He may seem like someone written to attract people with his personality, but beyond that, there's a fearful person hiding in his evil brain to feel good. If you like this video, make sure to subscribe for more videos like this.